Okay, we're going to keep moving on with confidence intervals. So first thing I want to do is just a little bit of a review, some stuff we've already kind of covered, make sure we got a handle on it. So what a confidence interval is, so let's go ahead and share our screen so we can kind of go over it. Okay, so here's the idea of what a confidence interval is. A confidence interval can be given to you in a couple different ways. So let's say I was trying to, estimate the proportion of Americans watching the Olympics, watching the Winter Olympics. So what I would do is I'd go out and I would take a random sample. So I go out and I take a random sample of say 200 people. So I'm going to take a random sample of 200 people. And let's say when I took that random sample of 200 people, I found out that, let's say 120 of them were watching the Olympics. So what that would tell me is my p-hat would be 120 out of 200. So my p-hat would be 60. But here's the idea. Obviously, the whole concept of a best guess is I'm not guessing that right on the nose, because honestly, I'm probably not right. I need a little kind of variability to it, a little wiggle room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the following. I'm going to say it's 60% plus or minus 6%. So what I'm really saying is this right here, again, is called my point estimate, my best guess. This number here is called the margin of error. And what I'm saying is the following. I'm not sure what the real answer is, but my guess is the real answer is somewhere between 54 and 66%. 54, that's 60% minus 6. 66%, that's 60% plus 6. So that's my best guess. So again, in this case, I would say something along the lines of I am 95% confident the true proportion of Americans watching the Winter Olympics is between 0.54 and 0.66. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that as we move along. Like today, we're going to learn about what the confidence is. We're going to learn about how we compute that, because there's a way we actually come up with that number. Because really what we're going to find out is that number, in this case of 95% confidence, is going to say, I'm going to take roughly 2 standard deviations times what's called the standard error. So that's really what this is, 2, and the standard deviations would be about 3%. So we're going to learn about that. Today, we're going to focus on the confidence, but that's kind of what we talked about last time. So here's what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to kind of talk about what the idea of confidence level is. So we're going to go to this website, tinyurl.com, applet.ci. So this is what it is. I'm going to follow the instructions. It says, what I want to do is I want to set the population proportion to 50%. And I want to set the sample size to 75. So in this case, what is going to happen is, where is that? Sample size is 75. And now what I am going to do is I am going to go ahead and take a sample. So I'm going to click one sample. And what ends up happening is I got a sample. If we look at it, let's make it a little bit better. I got a confidence interval that is 0.427 plus or minus 11%. So again, somewhere between 31 and 53%. If you notice, it caught that true proportion. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sample it 10 times. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And what I want you to notice is, as I do it this 10 times, what's happened is I caught that 50% once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I caught it 9 out of 10 times. So this is the idea of what a confidence level is. A confidence level is basically how many times I would expect an interval I produce to catch the real answer. So in this case, 90% of the time. So now what's going to happen is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run this thing 100 times. So I got a population proportion I expected 50%, a confidence level of 95, a sample size of 75. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what ends up happening when I did it 4 times, if you notice right here, 97 of the 100 times, it caught the real answer. So I made a 95% confidence level. And what ended up happening is when I caught this thing, when I ran this thing 100 times, I caught the real answer 97 of the 100. So that's where that confidence level comes from. It's what proportion of all of my intervals of the same size gathered in the same way catches the real answer. So what I want to show you what happens is what happens when I play with the confidence level. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play with the confidence level, and I'm going to drag that confidence level. And what I want you to do is watch the length of these bars when I do that. So what's going to happen is, okay, there we go. So now I went to 99. Notice the bars got larger, the bars got longer, the intervals got wider. And what ended up happening is I went from catching 97 out of 100 to 98 out of 100. So what's happened is that if I increase my confidence, if I want to increase my confidence level, you basically need to make it wider. And the example I gave is, imagine we went outside and I gave each one of you a tennis ball. And what I did is I drew a box on the wall, and I drew a box, the size of a Post-it note on the wall. And I said to you, okay, how confident are you that you're gonna be able to hit this Post-it note on the wall? Well, I mean, a tiny little Post-it note, you're probably not really confident. It's not wide enough. But now let's say, for example, I all of a sudden said, okay, I'm going to take the whiteboard in the classroom and I'm going to put that on the side of the wall, the width of that. How confident are you going to feel that you're going to hit that, the width of that? You probably feel a little bit more confident because it's wider. So what I want to show you again is this. We're going to rerun this guy, and we're going to run him with an 80% confidence level. So we're going to go way down to 80. And what I'm going to do again is I'm going to run it 100 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what ended up happening is with an 80% confidence level, sample size 75 each time. If you look at this population proportion, I only caught the real answer 80 out of 100 times. That is the idea of what we're talking about with a confidence level. So a confidence level basically says the width of my interval and how likely I am, like how many of those intervals actually catch the real answer. The final one we're going to do is we're going to play with the sample sizes. So we're going to reset this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this at a confidence level back of 95, which is our standard. But now what I'm going to do is I want to change the sample size to 25, or to 20 in this case, to 20. And I'm going to go ahead and take a sample. And if you notice that, what happens is look how wide that interval is because of the sample size. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank that interval up to 250. And I'm going to take a sample of size 1 from that. Nice and narrow. So again, here's the idea. My confidence level stayed the same. But when I did, again, I'll reset it and I'll show you again. When I do it with a sample size of 20, watch how wide the interval is over here. It's a big wide interval. I got a margin of error of 22%. So I'm saying that the real answer is anywhere between 23 and 67%. That's a pretty wide range. The reason that is because my sample size is so small. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank that sample size up to 250 or 200, 250, yeah. And I'm going to rerun that sample and watch what happens. Now I'm at 52% plus or minus 6. What I've done is I've taken my interval and I've narrowed it because I've taken a larger sample size. And again, the reason we're going to figure that out is the larger my sample size, the smaller my variability. My margin of error is my variability. So the larger my sample size, the smaller my margin of error. So that's kind of a little bit of what we're going to talk about in class today. I'm going to work on the answers on the back just so you have the practice. I ask you again, try the practice, check the answers, see how you do that.